Running Dream, Part 4, Chapter 12. After Rosa's done putting me through my paces the next night, I feel really confident. "You'll get an A tomorrow," she tells me. I snort. That would be a first. But not a last. She's smiling. "You want to come in at lunch for a review?" "I may just do that," I tell her, because I'm making the connection between training to break a league record and training to ace a math test. Repetition, effort, pain, success. There really is no shortcut. So the next day I go to room 402 at lunch and do my best to volley back right answers to Rosa's ad-lib math problems. She baits me to make mistakes by giving problems with my most common weaknesses, but I pull through okay. When the warning bell rings, she tells me, "You will do great." But it isn't until math class is over that I believe her. "How was it?" she asks when the tests are all collected. I'm afraid to say. "Easy?" "Yes," she says, and surprises me with a fist bump. We hang around and talk over some of the problems, and then Fiona pops her head inside the classroom. "You ready?" she asks. "Oh, I forgot." I turn to Rosa. "Fiona's taking me to Hankenstein's today. It should be my last fine-tuning for a while." "Have fun," she says, and her face has suddenly gone mischievous. I turn around and discover that Gavin is now standing in the doorway behind Fiona. "How would you feel about Gavin coming along?" Fiona asks, her eyebrows going all wiggly. She's obviously trying to do me a favor. It's okay to say no," Gavin says over Fiona's shoulder. "You can go," Rosa tells him. I turn to her and whisper, "What?" which makes her break out giggling. I don't know," I tell Gavin, but Fiona's giving me a secret fierce look, and I'm feeling a little heady and odd. And they're all staring at me, so I say, "Whatever. If you're sure you want to, fine." Then I turn to Rosa and whisper, "I'm going to sick Sherlock on you this weekend." She giggles some more. "See ya, Rosa," Fiona calls, and Gavin chimes in with, "Bye, Rosa," as we leave the classroom. "Bye, guys," she calls. Her voice is happy, but it leaves a little ache in my heart. She's the one I'd like to take along. Chapter 13. Chloe is happy to see that I've got company, and when I make the introductions, she's excited to find out that Gavin is the one who wrote the newspaper article. "It was awesome," she tells him, then goes on to say how she caught the story on TV. "My friends and I are all rooting for you," she tells me with a big warm smile. "Thank you," I answer, but I feel a twinge of selfishness. She's so kind and attentive. It makes it easy to forget that she's had to go through an amputation and rehabilitation too. Not to mention cancer. I change into shorts, and when I return to the waiting room, Chloe says, "Hank's ready for you. Are you all coming in back or just Jessica?" Everyone looks at me. "Do you want to?" I ask. They say they do, and I guess I feel bad making them stay in the waiting room, so I shrug and say, "Okay." And it would have been okay, except that after Hank tells me how great the TV news story was, the first thing he does is check my socket fit. He makes me sit down and take off the suspension sleeve, and then he grabs the socket part of my leg and moves it around. "You're loose. We need to get you into thicker socks." Off come the leg and the liner. Off comes the socks and the nylon. Suddenly, I'm feeling very self-conscious. Naked. Fiona looks down and Gavin turns away and stays that way. I'm reminded of how awful it looks. It's not red and swollen. It just looks like flesh, but it's still very graphic. Very gone. And all of a sudden I'm mortified. Why in the world did I let them come back here? Fiona's fine, but Gavin? I'm desperate to get this over with, to cover up, to get out of here. Hank has me try on different thicknesses of socks until he's satisfied that my socket fits right. Then we start with the adjustments. I wish for music, conversation, sound of any kind. Finally, Gavin breaks the silence, but he looks at Hank, not me. I saw a man at the airport once who had an art painted on his prosthetic leg. It was a sunrise in the ocean. It looked really cool. "Wow," Fiona says, then asks Hank, "Can you do that?" "I can do fabric," he says, as I begin a test walk for him. "Fabric?" Fiona asks. "What do you mean?" "Any piece of cloth. It only takes about half a yard. When I worked in San Francisco, people brought in skull fabric, dolphin fabric, tie-dye, camo fabric, you name it. Around here, our clients tend to be more conservative." When I turn around, he catches my eye. "We could do that with your definitive leg if you want. It doesn't cost anything extra. I just embed the cloth when I'm making the socket." Fiona's all excited. "We should go to the fabric store and pick out something really cool. You could do flames or flowers or just a solid like hot pink." I'm holding still now as Hank's tweaking the adjustments of my leg coupling. "But I really just want a leg that looks like a leg. I don't want flowers or flames, and I sure don't want pink." Hank says, "Well, we can't order your permanent leg until your residual limb is completely stabilized, so you have a couple of months to decide if you want a cosmetic cover or an exposed artistic socket. Maybe consider it for your running leg? Suddenly, flames seemed like a really cool idea. I grin at Fiona. That I could get into. On our way out, Gavin holds doors open for me and makes sure I'm safely in the car before closing my door and getting him back. Well, I say as Fiona's driving out of the parking space, thanks for taking me. I turn to Gavin. I hope it didn't freak you out too much. Not at all, he says. So where am I dropping you? Fiona asks, looking in her rearview mirror. Home, if you don't mind, Gavin replies. He's just a few blocks past me, I offer. I glance over the headrest. I used to run by your house to get down to the river. I've seen you, he says. You've got a cool dog. Sherlock, I laugh. He laughs too, and your cool dog has a cool name. Fiona drives to my house, and it's strange. I'm laughing and joking with Gavin like we've been friends forever, and when we get to my house, I'm feeling flushed. Happy. I know he has a girlfriend, but he's being really nice to me. Why did he want to go to Hankenstein's? It couldn't just be scientific curiosity. He gets out of the back seat while I maneuver out of the front, and he holds the door open. Thanks, I tell him with a smile. Sure, he says. Thanks for letting me tag along. Then I watch from the sidewalk as he gets into the front passenger seat and drives away with my best friend. It hits me like a ton of bricks. Gavin wants to spend time with Fiona, not me. Immediately, I start to make connections. Who did Gavin help with the Welcome Back Jessica sign in the Greek theater? Who's bound to have caught his eye while he was with Meryl at the high jump pit? Who did he cheer for up at Rigor Mortis Bend? Who's always there when he comes up to talk to me? Who is caring and involved and a doer just like him? My beautiful, long-legged best friend Fiona. Over the weekend, my thoughts grow darker and darker. I feel like a total idiot. What was I thinking? How could I have even hoped that Gavin might actually like me? How could I have fantasized even for a minute that things could be normal? I also can't help but fixate on the fact that while I'm hobbling around at home, Fiona's at league finals running. I was supposed to be there. I was on track to win. I try to think of good things, but somehow negative thoughts creep in. They take root so easily, like pesky weeds in a delicate garden. What I need is a run, a good hard run, to clear my head, to make me feel whole again. Instead, I walk Sherlock to Rosa's. She's just back from a CP yoga class, something she says is part of her physical therapy program. I tell her it sounds like a lot more fun than mine. It's nice to visit with her, nice to laugh a little, but I'm restless and moody, and after about half an hour I leave. Cheer up, she calls as I make my way to the sidewalk. Your finish line is right around the corner. Thanks, I call back, and I think about that as I walk home. Fiona calls late Sunday afternoon, and I make myself sound upbeat. Hey, how'd it go? Did you place? Nah, she says. I had kind of an off day, and we got second in league. Langston squeezed us out. She sounded very low-toned, very un-Fiona. Oh, I'm sorry, I tell her. There's a pause, and then, listen, can I come over? Sure. I can tell something's wrong, but it isn't until after she's hung up that I realize what it must be. I'm right about Gavin. He's fallen for my best friend. In the 15 minutes it takes for her to arrive, I remind myself what an amazing friend she's been. I tell myself I'm happy for the two of them, and I promise myself that I will tell her he's perfect for her, and that I'm so glad my tragedy has brought them together. I reword that last bit in my mind, then cut it all together. When the doorbell rings, I usher her in and hug her and congratulate her on an amazing season and tell her I'm sorry she's bummed. I don't know if I'm actually bummed, she says, following me inside. So what's wrong then? We settle in on the couch. She takes a deep breath, holds it, then lets it go. How would you feel if I went to the prom? He asked her to the prom, not just to the movies, to the prom? And when did he break up with Meryl? My heart tries to sink, but I yank it back up. I can handle this. I'm ready for this. It's okay. I'd be really happy for you, I say with enthusiasm. Then to save her the trauma of breaking it to me, I ask, did he ask you after you dropped me off on Friday? Did he? She gives me a confused look. What? Gavin, did he ask you to the prom after you dropped me off on Friday? She looked horrified. Gavin? Fiona, he obviously likes you, and I think you're perfect for each other. Shut up. I do. He doesn't like me, and he has a girlfriend. What are you, crazy? There's a lump forming in my throat. I feel so wrecked, so emotionally wrung out. She grabs my arm. Mario's the one who asked me to the prom. Mario, I ask, and my chin starts quivering. Mario, she says back. But I thought, I shake my head. Why else would he have come along? She scoots in and gives me a hug. You are worthy, okay? Quit telling yourself you're not. All of a sudden, I'm crying. Thanks, I whisper, and hug her tight.